What is this Greedent doing?
Greetings being greeted.
Alright, so I'm going to be voicing over one of my games that I played with Blastoise in a ranked game with my buddy Palmer's up. We're doing dual queue in ranked. Obviously, this video can still apply in solo queue as well as full squads of 5 or trios too. But what I'm going to be talking about is what I'm doing this gameplay with Blastoise, how I was able to use it pretty successfully in Masters as well. So if you look at my items here, I am going with Wise Glasses and Score Shield and Buddy Barrier. I had a different item put on for a minigame, but Buddy Barrier is definitely something you want in team fights, and it's very useful even if you're not playing an organized group of 5. Being together in team fights with that buddy bear is very important. Score shield I like a lot. It adds a little bit of bulk as well, and it allows you to get some points off. It's just a pretty solid defensive item too. And then wise glass is just for that damage, because most of your damage is coming from your abilities rather than your fast move damage. So we decided to split up the lanes. I'll tell a little bit about why we decided to go with what we went with. Lucario, pretty solid in the top lane. Very strong early game, which is why Palmer's went up there. And then I went bottom lane. Bottom lane is actually really solid, especially for the melee carries or, mons that need a lot of experience early on. Blastoise is definitely one of them, just because it's a 3-stage evolution. There's a little miscommunication from my teammates here, so I was pretty much by myself bottom lane. That'll definitely happen when you're going, queuing up with random people, even in a game with other players that may be master level players. But yeah, our Pikachu went up top for some reason, and so this forced our Froakie to come bottom side, which is definitely less than ideal. Yeah, it makes my lane a little bit tougher. Another play when you go with duos or trios is having both of the players that you're on voice comms with going towards the top side. This will ensure that the whole squad is probably in the bottom side for dread rotation, which is super important for team fights. As you can see, we're able to pick off this Gibble here. Gibble just not being able to do as much. Lucario here is very aggressively scoring, probably because it's got the item that increases its attack every time it scores. So a very preferred item for Lucario. So it's just something a little bit annoying to deal with, but you kind of just have to deal with it. The main thing with Squirtle early on is you don't really want to get picked off. You're definitely on the Glacier end. But you do have some pretty good escape mechanisms with Skull Bash. Definitely use Eject if you have that item. And always fight on your base if possible here. You can do quite a bit of chip damage over time too. I'm going grab berry just to be safe here. Again, I'm by myself in this lane, which is less than ideal. Again, Squirtle early on is not super strong. You really want to get that Blastoise as soon as possible. Hitting level 7 is also really nice, because that's when you get that Surf. And then level 8, you get some additional, stats, but nothing huge. Level 9 is where you get your Unite move and you turn into Blastoise. Again, this Lucario is just going to score. When they have like 10 points like this, you can't really stop them. But this Lucario is getting a little aggressive here, which is why we're able to kind of finish him off. I didn't point my Hydro Pump in the right direction, unfortunately, but that's okay. So as you can see, my buddy Palmer's is rotating down. He's a Lucario user. Anytime you could fight on, not fight on their base. Anytime you could whittle down the points on the first base in the bottom lane is huge, and we broke this base. That is a huge advantage for dread fights because they won't have anywhere to go back to heal to. They don't have berries to grab. It's an absolute huge advantage, because those first dread fights can last quite a bit of time, because most players know to rotate there. So you're going to have a long team fight here if you can't finish off this dread quickly. So I do have my Surf now at this point, and then what I'm going to do here is Zone. So I'm able to push off both the Greedent and the Lucario. I want to just push them off as much as possible to delay the attempt from them to sniping. And if they even attempt to try to kill me, that's fine, because if that's the case, I'm able to still buy my teammates enough time to finish off Dread. Me dying there versus getting experience for our whole team and getting shields for it is a huge advantage, even after the recent nerf to Dread in terms of how many shields they give you and probably experience, I think, they give you as well. Now I'm a Blastoise. Big important thing you want to know is using your Unite. If I use my Unite here, I'm able to use it 2 more times, so that's why I just decided to go for it. Good to use it for team fights here. Now I'll have my Unite for the next Dread. Again, pushing people back with Surf is huge, pushing them towards our base. You know, timing your serves and the direction you're pushing them is absolutely huge. Again, even something small as like pushing this Vespiquen further back makes just farming it even easier. They were able to snipe that Rotom, but again, Rotom's not nearly as important as Dread, so it's okay if they sniped it. A lot of them died in the process. Again, we still have that top base. Top bases are not nearly as important as that bottom base. That bottom base is super important for those Dread fights, like I said before. And they don't have their bottom base, so I'm going to go in here. This guy's not a, what do you call it, Garchomp yet, and there's 3 of them. They're Lucario just united. This is a lot of them. There's all 4 of them on this base. Definitely want to be careful here. I'm waiting for my teammates to back me up. Now we have 4 here. Again, we have our Pikachu up top side, probably a less experienced player, and that's fine too. They're just kind of preoccupying the Greninja, and again, they're trying to aggressively break this bottom base and make it a little bit easier for this Dread fight for themselves. But that's unfortunately not going to be the case for them. Trying to pick off this Greedent that's rotating down. Always want to watch a minimap knowing that the Greedent was probably going to come down soon. I'm aggressively pushing in here because I know my Unite's coming up in a second, so I'm just spamming it. I get a slight health buff from it, some just natural buffs, and then able to really clean up here. This is really solid because now we wipe them right before taking Dread. Of course, this Greedent's trying to solo Dread, but we'll pay with its life there because they were outnumbered, and we all rotate back down. Usually speaking, soloing Dread or Zapdos is not really a great call unless you can actually solo it very quickly. But in that situation, that Greedent kind of just left their teammates high and dry for us to pick off there. So again, use your ability to push neutrals like Rotom back, right? Look how far back this Rotom is. It makes it even harder for opponents to snipe it. They weren't even close, but just in case. And at this point, we lost our bottom base, but it's not the end of the world. There's only going to be 1 more Dread fight. And again, I use my Unite as soon as possible on that last Dread fight, so this will ensure that I will have my Unite for that, what do you call it, for that Zapdos fight. You definitely don't want to drop your Unite until you before Zapdos. That is a absolute big no-no in my opinion. There's a lot of times you could still win a lot of team fights, even down numbers, because you have Unites and your opponents don't, especially when you have Buddy Barrier, right? So this Venusaur is going to do quite a bit of damage. I'm pushing it back and just getting back to safety here. Again, I have my Unite, but I'm going to hold on to it. And that Venusaur is not going to have their Unites for the beginning of Zapdos. They're also being very aggressive and playing in our jungle, which is always kind of a gamble because it's much easier to reinforce your own jungle there. But you know, Venus are just super strong. But again, reinforcements come quickly here, and they don't have their Unite too. At this point, we realized that we're just going to go and grab that last Dreadnought. We could burst this down pretty quickly. Venusaur doesn't have its Unite move. It's still respawning at the moment, so it probably won't even get here fast enough. So we have numbers. Again, our Pikachu's doing its own thing up top side. Not ideal, but we at least have even numbers here, and we can kind of burst this down pretty quickly with Greninja, Lucario, and then just Blastoise and Wigglytuff to clean up. So, got Unite moves ready. His Pikachu's up there by themselves and just died. So, we kind of have, we're outnumbered here, but I have my Unites. And we're in an okay spot too. We do have Dread buffs as well. This Greedent's here already united. I'm going to unite here just to get some buffs. Unfortunately, we got sniped there by the Garchomp. But Garchomp does a ton of damage, so not super surprising. But best we do is kill off 2 of them there, so that's 2 automatic scores that they won't have. And at this point, in these situations, you just go score. You're not going to be able to defend with the Zapdos on buff on the bases, and this Greninja is doing a really great job of protecting me in case they try to jump on me and stop the score. And then our Lucario, my friend Palmer's, was able to score another 100 in their base too. So at this point, even though they got the Zapdos and they got some points from it, the best case you could do at this point is just kill as many of them as you can, consistently hold them off here. This Lucario is out of points, so we're just going to hold off. And playing defense here is the main key to success. They got a lot of points in that in the 2-minute double point time period, especially with that zap. So that's something to watch out for. It's still a pretty close game. This is honestly probably a misplay by me. I'm getting a little greedy here, just going for some last minute kills. But honestly, what I should be doing is holding on to and staying on top of that base. There's no need for me to overextend here because as you can see here, they're still trying to score, and my teammates could have really used my help here. Luckily, they are able to clean up both the Greedent and the Venusaur before scoring any points, as well as Sylveon. I was able to at least force the Venusaur to use their Unite move beforehand. And here comes the Garchomp. Garchomp super strong with the Unite, but as, again, not able to score 50 points there. And my friend Palmer is able to clean it up. So, again, even with some random players as well, with the Pikachu, Wigglytuff, and Greninja, you can still make quite a bit of plays here, even after losing Zap. We only won that by 4 points. So honestly, that was actually still quite close despite the lead we have. But the best thing you could do is really build up a strong lead you can early game so that you have a strong lead going into Zap. And even if you lose Zap, the ideal situation is you can still win off of it and not relying on Zapdos to win the fights. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of a walkthrough of why I did what I did and why my teammates did what we did for this game. And if you would like to see more kind of voiceover kind of tutorials or talk throughs or commentary on some of my games, leave a comment down below and let me know. If not, I'll probably just do random game highlights without commentary. But thanks for watching. Subscribe for future content, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.